Hey, I'm Brian Van, sportbiketracker.com, and today we're going to break down the Power Commander 5 and quick shift install on our 2018 STG Ninja 400 project bike. Okay, we have finished the conversion from street bike to track bike. It's time to take the little Ninja to Grattan Raceway and see if I can't whoop Max Van's butt while I'm riding this and he's riding his R3. And there's no way in hell I'm going and riding this thing without a quick shifter. That dog's never gonna hunt, right? So I ordered up a Power Commander 5 that kills both fuel and ignition, or it can control both fuel and ignition on the Ninja 400, right? This is more of a basic bike. And their new push/pull quick shift sensor to install on the bike. In this video, we're gonna show you every step of the way what it takes to get the install done. And I'll have to hand it to the Dynojet here. They did a really good job. This one installs really clean, all the inline connectors, everything's super nice. It is plug and play. The only area where you really need to get creative is going to be mounting the quick shift sensor. On this bike, we have the Vortex V3 2.0 rear sets. So what you see here, you can get this same end result that I've gotten here by doing this. You will need a grinder. Your stock shift knuckle here, we're gonna grind off this. This is riveted from the factory. I cut it off and then I ground it away and then I took a punch and drove it out. Behind there is a 6mm hole. I've got a bolt. This is a left-hand thread heim joint, okay? We can help you source this if you need to. Just leave it in the comments section. We'll try and get this stuff added to the website because I think there's gonna be Ninja owners that are gonna wanna do it this exact same way because this turned out super bitchin'. Yeah, you're gonna have to have a grinder to get it done, right? You could do that with a Dremel, right, and a hacksaw. It's really not a big deal. And the end result is super clean. There's not even a shift rod in here. We've got a heim joint. We've got the dual contact sensor. This is the heim joint that came with the Vortex rear sets. I mean, that is as clean as it gets. We need to take it and road test it and see, is this gonna move around? Are we gonna have any possible contact between the wire here, the way I've got it routed right now? We'll try and update you there if I make any changes. Worst case scenario would be if I see that it looks like it's rotating, getting a little close here on the inside, which I don't think it's going to. What I would do then is I would take and pull this knuckle off and route the wire on the outside of the knuckle. You can see that I drilled a little hole there in that knuckle and ran a cable tie through to secure it. So got some options here. After the first session, I'll kind of come back in, or if Max is riding, he'll come back in and I'll evaluate it to see if we need to make any changes. Really cool setup, super happy with how it turned out. Now I'm gonna call myself out. In the video, when we're installing the Power Commander and everything, the dual contact sensor, it has two plugs that come off of it. One is two wires, blue and green. The other one is, I think, orange and red or some shit, whatever, yellow and orange. I say that I had to hook up the orange and yellow set. I totally foobarred that. It was 100% wrong. It was the green and blue. I wasn't thinking. The green and blue are the push. The yellow and orange are the pull. I just had it flip-flopped. My bad. I did this on the R3 too. I'm sorry. I only have a high school education. Don't be too judgmental. Next up, all the steps that it's gonna take to get this done are gonna be shown to you by my man, Video Caleb. Okay, one of the main reasons we're installing the Dynojet Power Commander on our Ninja 400s, we wanna add a quick shifter. I've already got the shift sensor mocked up to the Vortex rear sets. We're gonna break that down during this install later on. I came up with a pretty creative way to get that done. We also now need to add the wiring harness that comes with the quick shift sensor to our Power Commander. In order to do that, you need to identify which slots to put it in. Per the instructions, either input 1 or input 2 is going to work with the shifter. It says here, set to switch input number 2 by default. So we're going to go ahead and go with input 2. First step is you want to back out the corresponding screws that are going to retain the wires into the power commander. Once you back them out, there is a watertight plug back here. You just need to poke through it with a pick, like so. Once you've done that, the polarity of the wires is not important at all. This harness comes ready to install into your quick shifter, into your power commander. The ends are already tinned. Go ahead and hold that in place. It's just a little flat blade bit that I'm using. This is a really narrow flathead screw. Okay, so we're at number 4 and number 5. That in there. You want to get it as flush as possible. This is just easier to do on the bench than it would be when you have the power commander already installed on the bike, so that's why we're going through this process right now. If you're not installing the quick shifter, obviously this does not apply to you. What I can say is if you're doing a track bike or a race bike, the quick shifter is probably one of the greatest mods you will do to that bike. This is a watertight plug that comes with the power commander. You want to make sure to install that there. We're not going to be using either of the accessory ports or the expansion ports on it, so we're going to go ahead and cork those off too. This stuff all came included with the power commander. All right, once we have that in there, we'll be ready to get this thing over to the bike and begin our install. Our Ninja 400 has already had all the bodywork removed. I've got the fuel tank taken off. And these are things that you're gonna need to do. You're gonna need this kind of access to do a good job. We do need to remove the airbox, which we're going to show you now during this video. Okay, airbox removal. Let's go ahead and come back here and disconnect that sensor. You want to make sure that you've got your index finger under this release here. Squeeze that. Never pull by the wires. Always pull by the connector. Pull that off. We've got a 10 mil hex head up here at the front. We'll go ahead and pull that. And then the throttle bodies. This is a twin cylinder, so there are 2 throttle bodies. There is a 3 millimeter internal hex fastener that's going to hold the boots to the throttle body. We'll try and raise the side up a little bit here and show you. It is right here, okay? Make sure you've got it loose enough that will allow it to slip off. Vent hose. Pull a clamp, just squeeze these. Hand to remove, and then just work this thing away. We do have another vent hose here in the back, the way back center. This one's got this really bizarre clamp on it. Like you squeeze it, it just gets all cockeyed. Not a lot of extra length on that vent hose either. There you go. Airbox off. We're going to lower the bike back down. Okay, this is, as you can clearly see, right, connected directly to the butterflies. The last thing you want to do is have something fall in there, somebody turns the throttle, and next thing you know, that shit's in your motor. Just go ahead and get a couple of shop towels and plug those up. We will obviously remove that shit before we put the airbox back on the motorcycle. Now, continuing to get enough access here, and I've made some changes. This bike is prepped for track use only. Just gonna pull this cross brace right now. to help me run the harness in there and get it all tied up. We'll be disconnecting the battery here in a second too. I removed my undertail tray back here and I ground away all the plastic that was in that area. I've started to secure all the tail light and turn signal harnesses that were back there that are just not going to be used. We'll clean that up more in the future. But for today, I wanted to get myself a nice flat landing pad for the Power Commander itself. Let's go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal here on the battery. Fold that out of the way. Power Commander is going to lay right here, and we're going to run the wiring harness down the right side of the motorcycle, like so. It's going to come through here, right, over and around into this general area here. To get the best possible access to do that, it's going to loosen this under tray up so I can manipulate it a little bit. Depending on how far you've got your bike prepped at this point, like I said, mine might look a little bit different back here, but the end result will still be very, very similar. Okay, once you've got some space back here, let's go ahead and get the Power Commander up into position. The quick shift harness, I'm just going to kind of leave that in the back right now. I'm not sure how I'm going to route that yet. But for the Power Commander itself, I want to get the harness started down the right side of the bike, the brake side of the bike. I'll get that all fed through. Draped over. Power Commander is going to come up over like this. Kind of sit right there. There's a nice little channel over here that this thing can sit down in. Pretty nice. Odds are I'm going to be bringing, while I'm at it now, I think I'm just going to bring this down so I can button this spot up through the same channels. The way this is set up too, what I like to do is I'm going to definitely put a cable tie back here just so that the wires never end up getting pulled straight out of there, okay? Because that is a pretty sensitive spot, a little delicate back there. From this point forward, Power Commander does have an illustrated instruction sheet that came with it that looks to be pretty darn complete. So everything else we're going to show you should be pretty much in line with what's included in those instructions. All right, when we come back, we will begin plugging the inline connectors for the Power Commander into our Ninja 400. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and continue routing the harness down the right side of the motorcycle. I want to pass between the frame and the electronics bay right here in this area. So we're going to have to pass these connectors through probably one at a time. Power Commander uses all the OE compatible weather pack style connectors, so this is good quality stuff that you can count on. And everything on this bike is going to be done in line. What does that mean? What that means is we're not splicing a bunch of wires here. We are literally just plugging it in line with all of our factory connectors. Get that portion of the harness run through there. As well as the other. The first step in the instructions is going to be fuel injectors. And so we'll get the inline connectors for our fuel injectors. And these are color coded too. You'll note that the fuel injectors on the bike have gray connectors, and the fuel injector inline connectors from the Power Commander also have gray connectors. This is my first run routing this in here, so don't be surprised if we've got some cuts and we kind of come back and make some changes. I love doing that stuff to Caleb. It makes him super happy. Okay, now these are going to come up under again and into the fuel injector area here. Okay, now per the instructions right here, I'll give you a good look at those too. We'll be utilizing those now. Here are the two fuel injectors. Okay, and they are color coded. One has orange colored wires, which is right here. The other has yellow colored wires, which is right here. The orange go to the one on the left, the yellow go to the one on the right. So we'll start off over here on the left. Make sure that you're pulling on the connector itself. The release for it is underneath. It's right here. Gotta press that. The way the inline connector is set up, that slides into there. You hear a good positive click. Then into the injector. We'll repeat the process here on the other side with our yellow. Okay, and we'll come back and we'll clean all this up as we move through the project a little bit further. Now, okay, route the 3-pin right side of the throttle bodies. Okay, and this is going to be, let's do a little cut around here. Okay, there should be TPS here.
Looks like the same clip.
It's like this. Okay. Oh, this is really pretty fucking easy, dude.
Yeah, like they're all in the right spots too.
Okay. Okay, next up, throttle position sensor. Let's go ahead and Get that release. Pushed, only pulling on the connector like we showed you on the other side. Okay. Put that under. Now this harness is going to come around the other side of the bike, and we have the coils, which are going to be at the end, and then we're going to have the crank position sensor, right, which is right here. Want to look for the crank position sensor. I don't see that right now. So once I find that, we'll get our routing all set. Okay, next up, crank position sensor. You're going to find right here at the very front of the electronics bay, there is a rubber boot. Pull that over, like so, and then inside you're going to find our crank position sensor right there. Okay, I'm going to have to abandon the light so I can get my other hand free. Let's go ahead and get that disconnected. A little tighter down here. Help me get this unplugged here, push down on that release. There we go. All right, that is unplugged now. I'm going to start to route this up in here. The coils. It's really going pretty well. I'm pretty happy with this so far. Just kind of get myself some routing here. All right, let's find the male end. Got that in line. And to the bike side. Things tucked up in there a little bit now. Once I get everything plugged in, that's when I'll go back and just really kind of refine, take a good look at the wires, where everything's at. Do I see any possible rub points? Get out the cable ties, get ready to secure this. Because the last thing you want to do is cause yourself precious riding time with a shitty install. Okay, now that's just going to kind of tuck back into that boot. Like so. All right, now the coils. Flip the page here. Top of the engine, up. Green, go to the left cylinder. Blue, go to the right. This one's start on the left side here. And the right side. Wow. Okay. That is literally it. That is pretty damn easy. Obviously, I haven't done the ground yet, but I've got the battery disconnected. So now this is the spot where we're going to go off camera, and I'm going to take my time. I'm going to really look at the routing for all the wires. I'm going to clean it up. We'll come back and show you what that looks like. Then we will move forward with the reassembly of the bike. Okay, it's time to put the airbox back on. Start by pulling out those rags that we had in place. This hose is a little bit of a pain in the ass to put back on. So what I did here is I actually took off the little frame brace over here on the right side to get myself a little access to get in there. it is probably gonna be really, really hard for Caleb to show you anything worth looking at. That clamp is something I got a shit can to. This thing's really a pain in the shorts. All for the stupid breather hose. Love it. Okay. Once you got that back up on there, it's phenomenal, a lot of fun. Let's get the other vent line. Okay, now you want to line this up with both throttle bodies and kind of wiggle it around, and you'll feel it literally just kind of drop down. I'm going to put the bolt in the front of it. It's a little 10 mil hex fastener. And then the clamps that hold the throttle bodies on, those are 3 mil internal hex. Pretty happy with how I have the wires routed. We're going to cover that. Get you a good look over here. I mean, you can see this is a really clean install. There's plenty of room back in this area for the fuel injector inline connectors. The crank inline connector goes inside the little rubber boot that we showed you on the other side. And then of course the ignition stuff just routes around the front. Your TPS is chilling out over here with all of your injectors. And like I said, there's enough room for that stuff and it kind of keeps itself together that I didn't really have to do a whole lot to secure it. Let's get that 3 mil T. I want to make sure that throttle body is seated all the way. The boot is seated on the throttle body, I should say, all the way down. That was a 4 mil. That was a 4 mil. We needed 3 mil, man. There we go. It's a harsh reality. If it's within 18 inches of my eyes, I can barely see it. Okay, 3 mil. Take your frame brace over here. This is so easy to take on and off either side. That, you know, if at any point you're working on the bike and you're like, man, if I could just get my hand in there, you are 2 12 mil hex fasteners away from literally just getting your hand in there. So don't be afraid to take that off. Torque those up. Let's go to the other side. Get that boot. First thing you want to do is look down and make sure that it's all the way down, which it is. Go ahead and snug that up. Like so. Now let's take a look at our quick shifter, okay? And this is something, I'll be straight with you, I'm pretty proud of this. What I chose to do over here. I'm gonna shed a little light on the situation. This is the OEM shift knuckle that comes with this super cash money heim joint. It's actually riveted right on there. While I was looking at this, trying to determine how I was gonna set it up, I'm like, you know what? If I could just get that heim joint off of there and reuse that, that would be the best case scenario for myself. So what I did is I took a grinder and I cut this bad boy off. And this one was also super, like, look at this. That's from the factory. This thing was super sloppy. No bueno, right? Out of it. I was then left with a hole that I think it's a 6 mil fastener, went right through. So I went into my spares bin. I got a button head, 6 mil fastener, a spacer on the backside. You get an idea of how far out that is. And then I have a lock nut on the back, okay? Bolted that all right up. This heim joint, if memory serves me correctly, is left-hand thread. So I threaded that bad boy in here. Vortex V3 2.0 rear sets. I have this threaded right into the heim joint that comes with it. Spacer that's included with the Vortex rear sets in there. So no shift rods whatsoever. Anytime you can eliminate additional pieces, you're just going to get a much more solid feel. I've got strong angles here. You always want to shoot for 90 degrees, both places. Vortex offers 3 positions here. I could, in theory, move this around a little bit and experiment by using one of these other holes if necessary. Just didn't find the need to do that. With these rear sets, you're also able to make very finite adjustments to the shifter by just loosening this up and rotating the cam. Super happy with that. This is the new dual contact shift sensor from Dynojet. I have the harness is actually tied up in here. It's going to be kind of hard for me to show you. If you want to come right over here, Caleb, you can kind of see it. See the connectors? We are in GP shift, so per the instructions, you would be using the orange wire. I think it's orange and yellow, okay? There's 2 connectors. There's one that is green and blue, and the other one is the orange and yellow for a pull. Pull is orange and yellow, push is green and blue. We went with pull. We still need to road test it and make sure everything's copacetic, but I ran it on the back side of the shift knuckle, drilled a hole in it right there, ran a cable tie through to secure it. You can see I left a little loop right here just to make sure that we've got good clearance. And I'm going to keep a really close eye on all this. It doesn't look like there's going to be any rubbing or any contact, but after the first couple rides, I'm going to look at it. Worst case scenario, I could always route this on the front side and loop over. So I try to keep it all out of the way so boots and stuff just won't hit it. We'll take a look at it, see if I see any witness marks, any rubbing. I really don't anticipate having any issues with it. But still, you know, when you do an install like this, you want to get an opportunity to ride it and evaluate after the fact. I then secured that harness all up in here. There is a loop on this frame brace, a metal loop. If you take this off, these 212s, there is a metal loop on the backside right here. I've got it run through there, and then to switch from push or pull, you can access that very, very simply. When putting the race bodywork on, I had the 2 fuse boxes. They were just kind of chilling up in this area. I relocated them under the frame rail, used a cable tie through their own connector to secure it to the bike. So that's just another little tip that you can use. Also, with the shifter, very important, not only the 90-degree angles, but I want you to take a look at the relationship of the heim joints, okay? You want them running on the same plane. You don't want them twisted like this. You need to be able to rotate this back and forth freely, otherwise it can create binding. Binding creates more friction when shifting, and it reduces the accuracy of the shift. You could increase missed shifts, which on a bike like this, that's the kiss of death. You miss a shift on 1 lap, you just blew the whole lap. What do we need to do next? So I need to get the fuel tank back on the thing. We've shown you that in enough videos now, right? I don't think we even really need to do that. That's very simple. Begin to get the bike back together and evaluate the stuff that we've done. And more importantly, we have to get into the power commander to enable our quick shifter, and then also go ahead and we'll load a map into it, like a full system map. I'm hoping that within their database, they have just a generic full system map. We're gonna throw that in there instead of dyno tuning it and run it that way for this weekend. Okay, now that we've got the power commander installed, I've got my quick shifter hooked up. This part's gonna be relevant for you whether you're using quick shift or not. If you are not using quick shift, just simply skip the step where I'm going to enable that feature. This comes with, the power commander comes with this USB cable. Let's go ahead and free the power commander from its mounting position. Plug this in. I've already started the bike before hooking it all up, okay, to verify that the work we did works. The bike starts, the bike runs fine. We do have an engine light right now. That's because I have the pair system disabled. I have it removed from the bike. You can get pair eliminators, right? You could plug the pair valve back in and it'll trick it and it'll think it's still there. I mean, that's really up to you what you want to do with that. But right now we're just going to focus on just the power commander portion itself. Once you have that connected, go ahead and plug this into the USB port of your computer, right? Laptop, I've got it hooked to a hotspot here on my phone. You go to the Power Commander site and download their tuning suite. I've already done that step. Once you've done that, you also want to go and retrieve the appropriate maps. You go to this page right here where you're able to search the available maps from their database. Click the map search tab. It's going to open this up. Put your information in here. Boom. The available maps for this motorcycle are stock exhaust, stock intake, Acura full system, stock air filter, Yosh, full exhaust, stock air filter, Aero full exhaust, stock air filter. What I did is I downloaded the stock exhaust, stock intake, and I'm going to save that. I downloaded the Acura full exhaust, stock air filter, and I'm going to save that as well. And I've also named them. When you download the tuning suite, it's going to create some folders in your document section. And you can see right here, here are the two maps that I pulled down. And they are now saved in my Power Commander 5 Maps tab. Open up their software. Let's go ahead and turn the bike on. I want to open up a map, and I want to open the full system map. The map that it comes with is the stock stuff. That's not what we want to use. So I'm going to open up that full system map. And you can see it's verified right there, Acura full system.pvm. All you have to do now is click Send Map. There's a message right at the bottom, Map sent successfully. Now for the quick shift. Power Commander tools, configure, feature enables, and input selections. Remember, we put the quick shift into input number 2. If you look, quick shifter, switch input 2 is set up right there. Let's go to configure. What I've found is that their box stock settings for quick shift have always worked well for me. I would advise leaving this shit alone and just enabling the feature and then riding the motorcycle to see where you're at. Click the radio checkbox, click OK, applying settings. File, exit, key off, disconnect, and let's go ahead and just put that back in the mounting position. Let's start the bike to make sure. Remember, this bike now has a Woodcraft key switch eliminator in it, so no more key. There you have it. I know I have an engine light. I know what that is. I'm actually going to take another step with this bike down the road. We'll talk about that in a subsequent video. That'll turn that off. If you want to get rid of that, you can put your pair valve back in there, right? If you don't want to ride around with the light on. For what we're doing this weekend, I have very little concern for that. I'm just going to let it go as is. If you have any questions on this install, anything that we did to our Ninja 400, just leave those in the comment section of this video. I answer all those myself. Happy to help you get your Ninja 400 just as dialed as we have ours.